Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about addition. Now, I'm not going to insult you and pretend that you don't know how to add or subtract numbers. But what I want to talk about is some hints and some ways of doing it effectively, right? Because well, I know you've done some addition in the past, but that doesn't mean that we can all add quickly, right? Right? So what we're going to do is think about some ways in which we can make our addition more effective, right? Now, I'm going to stop you there, though, and tell you that you do not have to be fast with math. You just have, your goal is not about speed, it's about accuracy. So if it takes you longer to add numbers than someone else, who cares? If you get the right answer, then that's what you're worried about, right? It's not about speed, it's about accuracy. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you go. So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at a little mental arithmetic. Or mental addition. Put it as mental addition. Mental means we're going to do it in our head. We're going to do it without using paper and without using a calculator. Okay? And not every number really lends itself to this, but many times you're going to see patterns for things that do. Right? For example, adding a 7 and a 3 is really easy. Why is 7 and 3 a really easy combination to make? Yes?
Because it adds to 10.
It adds to 10, right? And we like things that add to 10 or 20, right? Those numbers that end in 0. And so we can use that kind of pattern to make other things easier. So for example, 2 and 8 would make a 10, right? So we're thinking of numbers that end in those easy numbers to work with. They're called friendly numbers. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be looking for patterns. Now there are two patterns that we're going to look at. When you're adding numbers, the order does not matter. So if I have three numbers or two numbers to add together, so like the 7 and the 3, 7 plus 3 makes what, guys? Just sing up. 10? Well, what's 3 plus 7 make?
10.
10. So did the order of the numbers make any difference to my final answer? No. Okay? And that's always true. If you have 3 numbers, if you have 20 numbers, if you have whatever, it doesn't make any difference what order you add them in as long as you remember to get every one of them in. Okay? And we can use that idea to make our life simpler when we have a big, long group of numbers to add. Does anybody remember what the answer is called when you add? Starts with an S?
Sum.
It's a sum, yeah. So keep that in mind because again, you need to use the proper language. So if you see find the sum of these numbers, that means that you need to add them. Okay? So the order doesn't matter. And there's a name for this property. This is the associative property. Now, I'm not going to ask you a question about that, but you'll see in the book. They use the associative property. Again, it's not that you're going to have a vocabulary test, but that just means that you can associate any numbers together in any order. Okay? Doesn't matter. Okay? We also have what's called the commutative property. Okay? All right. And that one says that you can group in any order. Now again, remember though, that's only when you're using all addition. If you throw in some subtraction, you can't make that rule work. Throw in any multiplication or division, then that's not true anymore. Okay? So you can put brackets around numbers, and it doesn't matter where you put the brackets, the answer will still come out the same if it's all addition. Right? Now it would change if you put any other operation in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of these problems where they've given you numbers that have those friendly numbers in them, those combinations of numbers. And what I want you to try to do is just try to identify those friendly numbers. Now I'll do the first one for you, and we'll walk just so you know what I'm talking about. And then we're going to do the other ones. But when we do the other ones, I'm going to call on you guys, right, to tell me what the friendly numbers are. Just think about it, though. Friendly numbers, we're trying to get like a 0 at the end. Yeah, something like that. So I think you'll see them quite easily. Let me. So what I want to do is I want to look at these, and I want to just think about the friendly numbers. Now, I'm going to do the ones at the top, which are the easy ones, because they've got like 1 digit or 2 digits. There we go. I think it's the mouse. It works. So if I'm combining these, what I want to do is I want to look at numbers that are easy to combine, because if you just started adding 23 plus 41 plus 9 plus 7, it's difficult to do in your head, right? Okay?
I couldn't say that very well.
Okay, let me see if I can make it a little bigger. Oops. Thanks. Please don't hesitate to let me know, because I need you to be able to see and hear, because I've got to be able to do the work, right? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to see, is there a way I can group these together that would make them easy to do in my head? So what I want to think about first is, when you're looking at these 4 numbers, do you see 2 that are easy to group?
Yeah, you just add the 23 and the 7 to make 30, and the 41 and the 9 to make 50.
There you go. Because if you combine to turn them into numbers with zeros at the end, then it becomes really easy a lot easier to add them or subtract them in your head. Because 23 and 7 are going to make 30. 41 and 9 are going to combine to make 50. And 30 and 50 will combine to make 80. Right? So what we're doing is we're trying to see if we can make combinations of numbers that would make your life easier. Yeah? Now this is a really important skill that you need to develop and you need to think about, because you're going to have a lot of times when you're not going to have the calculator to do it for you, right? Or even paper, but most of the time you'll at least have paper. Okay? So do you see what we're trying to accomplish here? All right. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this one. Just think about, first of all, the friendly numbers. Just take a look at it, because then I'm just going to call on people, and I want you to tell me what are the friendly numbers there. Now, when I'm calling on you, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few key words that mean to add. Okay? Shh. Okay? Do you have a question or is it?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Quickly. Okay. So, the first one I've given you before, what's the answer called when you add, guys? Sum. There you go. So if you ever asked to find a sum, that means you're just adding the numbers. Another one that you can find is you might be asked to find a total. Anytime you're doing a total, that also means that you want to add up all the numbers you have. Okay? Anybody think of any other words that might mean add?
Add something.
Maybe something that I've
Equals?
mentioned. Perhaps.
Equals?
Okay, well, no, because you could have multiplication that equals, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah, true.
There you go. The phrase that I gave you. When you have more than. Now, at this level, you're not going to see that one very frequently. But if you have more of something, that means you're adding to what you already have, yeah? Okay?
Did you use plus?
Exactly. There you go. All right, you know that one. Okay? Anything else?
Add?
You bet. Okay, good job. Now there are lots of other words that you could use, but these are the ones you're going to see most frequently. And because this is a mathematics class, these are the 2 that you're going to see the most, probably. Sum, right? So you need to be prepared to know the correct vocabulary. But you need to know that all of these mean to add. Guys, so anytime you see that word algorithm, you'll need to write it down. So put this in your notes. An algorithm is generally defined as a step-by-step method. And we tend to forget for things that are really easy, that there's a process that we're going to. And so then when we add to it later, we're so used to doing it that we forget how to do it, how to describe what's happening. So I want you to be sure that you understand how to describe the standard algorithm for addition. So the step-by-step method. So first step. Now I'm writing it on this instead of paper, but you're writing these notes. The first thing is to line up by place value. So in other words, if I'm going to use this algorithm, the ones need to be over the other what? The other ones, they need to be added in a column. Line up by place value in a column. What does column mean? Things that are how? Straight up and what? Up. Columns go up and down, right? What's the things that are called when they go across? Rows. So rows and columns. Yeah, there you go. So line them up. Second, add the numbers in the ones column. Now again, I know you know how to do this, but we want to know how to describe it to make sure everybody's on the same page, right? So add the numbers in the ones column. Okay. Now, got to turn the page so that I have more room to write. Just going to go ahead and change it to paper. Now, if that sum is 10 or bigger, then what happens to that 10 or 20 or whatever you get when you do? What do you? Yes, these are belong in your notes. Yes. Okay. Okay. If that number is 10 or bigger, what do you do with it? So like say we added 7 and 3, what are we going to get? 10. So what's the ones digit to that sum? 0. And what do I do with that 1? So it's a tens digit, so it needs to go in the tens column, yeah? Okay, so if that number is 10 or bigger, then typically the phrase used is carry that to the tens column. Right? So it's just about staying focused and organized, writing very neatly and staying organized. Okay? Step 3. Add the numbers. Again, remember that little hashtag with an S stands for numbers, right? We talked about that last time. Add the numbers in the tens column. Again, remembering that if you're in the tens column, let's say I added 70 and 30. What do I get? 100. So that 1 doesn't belong in the tens column. It belongs in the hundreds column, right? So do you see what's happening? Every time you move over a step, you will end up carrying into the next level if you have to. What if I had 50 and 30? I get 80, so that just stays in the tens column, right? Okay? But if you carry if necessary. So keep that in mind. Carry if necessary. Okay? And you're just going to continue until you are out of digits. Right? Digits means the numbers. Okay, just continue in the same pattern until you're out of digits. Guys, watch out for missing digits. Let me show you what I mean by that. and show you something that you can use. You don't have to, but if it confuses you or messes with you and you need something in every digit, what number means nothing? 0. So you could always place a 0. So let's say I have 1, 2, 5, and 3, and 7, 9, 2. So do you see that here and here I have nothing in those digits? So if you want to, you could hold those digits with zeros if you wanted to. It's not necessary, but what you have to do is you have to be really careful to remember that 3 is in the ones column and make sure you line it up in the ones column. All right, so